Welcome back to our YouTube channel. In this video, we are installing an undermount kitchen sink with a single hole faucet, and in the end we will connect the drain using a PTrap. So let's get started. Some faucets come with all the hardware attached to them, and in some, hardware is placed in a separate bag. If your faucet came with the hardware attached, make sure you take it off before you insert it into the mounting hole. To start, place the gasket around the base of the faucet before inserting it into the mounting hole. Be very careful while mounting the faucet into the hole. Do not bend the supply lines or damage the spray hose connections. Before assembling the hardware, back up the set screw all the way on the locking clamp. Assemble all the hardware in the correct order. Rubber washer goes first, brass washer goes next, and the locking clamp goes last. You might have to pull the spray hose out to get through the locking clamp, because sometimes it's very hard to run all 4 hoses at the same time through the locking clamp. Hold the faucet in place with one hand and hand tight the locking clamp with the other hand. Once it's hand tightened, check the faucet position and turn the locking clamp a quarter turn with the plier. Check the faucet position again, adjust if needed, and tighten the set screws with a screwdriver. In the next step, we are going to install pull-out hose and weight. Connect the pull-out hose to the brass connector by just pushing it in until you hear a click. To install the weight, let the hose hang naturally. Install the pull-out weight approximately 4 inches away from the lowest point of the loop, in the opposite direction of the connector. In the last step of installing the faucet, we are going to connect the faucet supply lines to hot and cold water connections. But before that, we ran our hot and cold connections in a bucket to clean out any debris in the pipes and attached hot and cold supply lines to our water connections. Red marks on the faucet supply line indicate hot, so we are going to connect it to hot water connection. And blue mark indicate cold, so we are going to connect it to the cold water connection. Use the adjustable wrench to attach water supply lines. Do not over tight, because that can damage the rubber gasket in the faucet supply lines. In this next step of the video, we are going to install this stainless steel sink underside of the counter using metal strap. To start, dry fit the sink underside of the counter to make sure it fits correctly. Clean the sink and underside of the counter to make sure that there is no dust. This will help them stick better. Use a caulk gun to apply a thick bead of caulk around the edge of the sink. We are using silicone sealant, which works best for this application. Raise the sink so it presses against the underside of the countertop and forms a watertight seal. Ask someone to hold the sink in a position while you add straps underneath. If you are installing the sink by yourself and don't have anyone around to help you hold the sink while you strap, there are a few other options to hold the sink in place, like using a piece of wood and shims, threaded ready rods, or a car jack. When you add straps, screw them approximately 1.5 inches higher than the bottom of the sink, so that they push the sink up towards the counter. Your straps must be at the exact same height on both sides, otherwise the sink will keep moving to the higher side of the strap. Add 2 straps to the sink, one in front of the drain and one behind it. We use 1/2 inch all-round steel pipe strap. This strap has perfect strength and evenly spaced holes, which makes the hanging process very easy. Once both straps are installed, adjust the sink if needed, and tighten the straps fully. Wipe off the excess silicone sealant. Cut off the extra straps as close as possible to the screws. Allow the caulk to dry as per manufacturer's instructions before installing the drain. Most of the kitchen sink drain holes are 3.5 inches, so we are installing a 3.5 inch basket strainer. If the strainer came pre-assembled, unassemble it first. Then place a screw, metal strainer and white rubber gasket on top of the sink. Black gasket and the main body go underneath. To attach the metal strainer to the main body, put pressure on the screw with one hand and start spinning the main body with the other hand. Tighten it with your hand until it's fully snug. This just needs to be hand tightened. To install the tailpiece, place the gasket in the tailpiece that comes with it and tighten it to the main body. It is very easy to wreck these plastic threads, so be very careful. This also just need to be hand tightened. Just snug it up. If any of these leaks after you water test, you can tighten them a little more. In the final step of this video, we are installing the PTrap. But before we start the installation, let's talk about a few codes about kitchen sink PTrap. Minimum size of the kitchen sink PTrap is 1.5 inches. Minimum trap arm length is 3 inches or twice the pipe diameter, and maximum is 5 feet 11 inches. Trap arm is a portion of a fixture drain between a trap weir and its protecting vent. Maximum angle that can be used to connect the PTrap to trap arm T is 135 degrees. Just like any other plumbing fixture, kitchen sink should also have a drain cleanout. We used a Y fitting to install fitting cleanout on our drain line. In the next step, we are going to measure the piece that is going between 1.5 inch slip joint adapter and PTrap. To measure that piece, place PTrap in front of Y and measure this end of the hub from bottom of the cabinet and measure up to the end of the trap adapter's hub. Subtract both dimensions. That will be the length of the pipe that is going between them. Now glue the trap adapter to the pipe we just cut. Place it on the tailpiece and tighten it with your hand. And glue the other side to the P-trap. You can see that our drain and P-trap are offset from each other. So we are going to use a 45 to align them. We are going to cut a close piece and glue it into the 45 and glue that 45 onto the Y. When you glue a piece of pipe into the fitting, make sure you have enough glue on both of them and wipe off the extra glue. Now align the 45 and P-trap 90 and measure the piece that is going between them and cut it. We use this Milwaukee hacksaw with 18 TPI blade to cut the ABS pipes. You can also use a hacksaw or any kind of ratchet pipe cutter to cut the pipe. Now unscrew the 90 from the P-trap and glue the piece we just cut into it. And glue it into the 45. And tighten them together. Make sure that the trap adapter is also tight. And check for slope. You need 1/4 inch slope per foot on an 1.5 inch pipe. Anything less or more than that is not good. We also used some Teflon tape on clean out face so that if water ever accumulates in the drain, it won't leak through this. First, we hand tightened it and then we used a plier to snug it. By doing that, our drain installation was done. And finally, we turned on the shutoffs to the faucet to check for water leaks. We also accumulated some water in the sink and drained it to check the P-trap and strainer for any leaks. That's all for today's video. Make sure to like our video and subscribe to our channel. See you next time.